In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern, taking a look at some colder times. We're not going to see that on the National Weather Service outlooks here, but it's kind of like sprinkled in. There is colder days, and the models are still indicating that there is multiple snow chances. And of course, I've been saying this every single day. Take it with a grain of salt. This is like climate-wise, and the time of year that we're in is very, very hard to see it occur. It's more rare. So, especially when we're in an overall warmer pattern with colder days, it is going to take a very, very specific set of events for these snowfall events to actually pan out. So, with that in mind, we will take a look at what the models are showing. Again, overall warmer pattern, and there will still be severe weather events, I suspect, over the next few days and weeks, so we're going to be watching that very, very closely. Let's first off take a look at the brand new 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from the National Weather Service here, and this goes from March 28th through April 1st. We can see that the only area that's expected to overall be colder is going to be the areas very close to Canada here, like the Northern Plains and Upper Midwest and Great Lakes, especially the Northern Great Lakes, and very far northern New England there. Overall, we're going to see a large warm area here for the four corner states, the plains, most of the plains, the lower areas of the Midwest, the South Central states, the Deep South, the Southeast, the Mid-Atlantic, and even up into the Ohio Valley there. So all underneath there, we're dealing with warmer conditions. Now let's go ahead and take a look at what the precipitation is going to look like during this time frame. Now remember, we're dealing with overall warmer temperatures, so a lot of this above average precipitation is going to result in thunderstorm chances for these areas, and pretty much therefore severe weather chances, especially for areas further south. This is going to be a big threat. We can see that the West is still expected to be pretty far above average as far as activity is concerned, and the only real area that we're dealing with below average precipitation is going to be this lower four corners area like Arizona, New Mexico, and a few neighboring states. For the Midwest, up into the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast, we're also pretty well above average in these areas as well, which might transpire as some snowfall. We're watching dates in particular. I would say April 1st and 2nd is a date that I keep seeing popping up on the models. And remember, I mean, we're a good 8, 9, 10 days away from that, so there is plenty of time for things to change. And this time of year, the changes are more likely to be a pumping of the brakes than an accelerating type of change, but the weather is always full of surprises, and you just can never know what's really going to happen. So anything's possible. We're going to be treating it that way. As of now, the models are showing snowfall for certain areas and on certain models. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the 8 to 14 day outlooks here and see what we're dealing with just a little bit after this. Now, as we take a look at this 8 to 14 day outlook, this is going to be from March 30th through April 5th. We can still see some below normal temperatures here in the West. Is going to kind of present itself as a negative PNA, a very weak negative PNA. Another thing to reinforce that thought is these colder temperatures over Alaska as well that we can see here on the bottom left. These two features combined are going to lead to this really warm pattern across a lot of the central states, the Midwest, and quite a bit of this will stretch into the east as well. But just looking at this, we could tell that the most intense area of ridging is going to be over the middle, and we're going to see a pretty subtle but present descent into the east. And that's going to be a factor, especially on these colder days where we do see potential storms moving through. That might be enough to just bring some snowfall. Might just be enough. The Northeast still below average. These areas really looking at a good chance of snowfall. We'll move into that in just a little bit. Taking a look at the precipitation during that same time frame, again, March 30th through April 5th, the West still looking really above average in that negative PNA pattern. The drier area expands throughout pretty much all of the South Central states and into the middle of the nation as well here. A little bit drier, and then above average still the closer you get to Canada for the Northern Plains, Upper Midwest, Great Lakes, into the Northeast here, with near normal chances for the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast. Now, as we just take a look at the past 20 days, this is what we've really dealt with, and we've seen some colder days recently, so the warmth has kind of become less intense looking back at the past here. This is basically March 2nd through 22nd. We do see below normal temperatures here for the West, so again, that has presented itself as a negative PNA, and this has really forced a lot of this warmth into the central states especially, but also into quite a bit of the east. We're going to see this change for a little while, although I think mostly as we reach towards like the tail end of March, I think the last 2, 3, 4 days. We're probably going to warm back up. That is going to lead to this map actually still looking this way. I think this is pretty close to what we're going to see is the entire month of March for the most part. And we could start off April on a very cold note, surprisingly. So we'll see that on the models here in a moment. So let's go ahead and move on and take a look at the European model here. Now, as we just take a look here, we're looking at Saturday afternoon, March 22nd today. We'll move it towards the evening, and we do have a low up there across the northern plains, and this is bringing some snowfall to the Rockies, some to the northern plains here. We also have some snow showers across the mountainous northeast as well, but really nothing major happening until we reach towards overnight into tomorrow, because this is when we do start to see some severe thunderstorms popping up here for areas of like Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, probably moving into Mississippi. That's a new one. Mississippi and Alabama there. Really intense thunderstorms. We do expect like a level 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather. So strong thunderstorms, not necessarily a severe weather outbreak likely at this point, but certainly some active severe weather in there. We should see some nasty weather at times. As we just keep going, I'm going to move us towards Monday afternoon, where we will have thunderstorms around for the southeast area. So Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia. Probably more showery in this northern territory. Could hear a crackle of thunder, especially in the southern half, but a little bit more showery as things are already pretty cold. This low is over the Great Lakes, and we see snowfall across the Great Lakes area, areas of Canada, and then into the northeast as well. As we just take this towards Tuesday afternoon, we see one of those colder days here popping up. It's very quiet precipitation-wise, but we see a full-blown ridge over the west, a really intense trough here over the east, so colder temperatures for Tuesday the 25th, overall warmer and drier in the west. As we move towards Wednesday, it's a lot of the same, but we interestingly have a weak low trying to develop here, and this is the European model, keep in mind, offshore of New Jersey. And we do see snowfall throughout the state of Pennsylvania and into northern New Jersey. Very weak system, but we do see this also bring snowfall to parts of New York and New England there. Probably nothing major, but still snowfall nevertheless. And as we move towards Thursday the 27th, that's basically moved out. And as this pattern keeps going, it's like a revolving door, because we had the warmer pattern in the west, but now we're seeing storminess and cold temperatures start to try to move in here for this western area, and it's all coming with this strong low near Vancouver. We're seeing snowfall throughout the mountains, rainfall in the lower elevations. It's just some classic stuff. Probably some thunderstorms throughout this kind of central area of the United States: Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, into Illinois. So we are seeing some activity there with this warmer push moving eastward. As we move towards Friday the 28th, we see that this colder pattern in the west, warmer in the central and eastern states, starts to expand. So again, the peak here is over the central states, but some of it is still moving into the east as well. We have a couple of areas of thunderstorms, the Ohio Valley and Midwest, and then down here for Texas, New Mexico, into Oklahoma, we're seeing this. And then we see some overall storminess for the Northwest. Snowfall in the mountains, rainfall again in those lower areas. It's pretty obvious. As we move towards Saturday on the 29th, this is when things start to get very active again. We basically reverted back to a negative PNA pattern where we have a trough in the west, ridge in the east here. We have a low right in between it for Kansas and Nebraska, so a warm front along that jet stream, and then a cold front underneath. Here's what we're basically seeing. So we get more showery and even snow showers here around the low and to the north of it, but we will likely have a severe area to watch from Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, southward through Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi again, or Mississippi, depending on how you pronounce it. Tennessee, Illinois, they'll probably be moving in. So definitely interesting there for Saturday, and we could have some activity. This is beyond 5 days, so this is the extended range as far as severe weather goes, but I wouldn't be surprised to start to see some outlooks popping up for this. Sunday the 30th as well, we see this low moves up to Wisconsin. We get a pretty hefty winter storm up there for areas of the Dakotas, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and then up into Canada. Still a pretty large area of thunderstorms happening for the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, down through the deeper south and Gulf states overall. Again, for Sunday the 30th. And then Monday on the 31st, This low is way up in eastern Canada, but we're dealing with thunderstorms potentially stretching up into the northeast. Texas, all the way around the Gulf Coast, up the southeast coast, up the east coast, all the way into New England here. Likely dealing with thunderstorm activity here. And meanwhile, the west is dealing with plenty of snowfall, especially in the northern territories, starting in like Colorado, Utah, Nevada, California, northward. So we're kind of excluding Arizona and New Mexico there, but a lot of mountainous snowfall for those northern mountains. And as we move towards Tuesday, April 1st, you notice something interesting. We get this kind of flatter jet stream look, which could be a big point where we could reset everything. This could be a big pattern change right around April 1st. In the last like 6 to 12 months, I have noticed, and I've pointed out a few times, so for those of you that watch the videos a lot, you've probably heard me say this, but I feel like on the first of months in period, for some reason that always brings about a pattern change. I don't know why. Obviously, the weather does not obey our calendars that we have, but for some reason, the first of every month, we've seen pattern changes. Maybe not everyone, but most of them, which is just weird. We see thunderstorm activity throughout the plains and deep south, so potential for severe weather still on Tuesday the 1st. A new storm system moving onshore to the west, bringing some Sierra Nevada and Cascade snowfall as well moving in. As we take a look at Wednesday, here on the 2nd of April, we have this low over the Ohio Valley. On the GFS model, we're going to see this much further to the south and move offshore and bring a snowstorm to the mid-Atlantic and northeast. The European model has it much further interior, so I wouldn't think that we would have as much snowfall on this model as the GFS. For this particular event, we see a massive storm moving onshore to the west now. 979 there, approaching Oregon and Washington. So we're seeing mountainous snowfall, very heavy rainfall in the lower elevation areas and coastal areas. We're dealing with a pocket of thunderstorms for the deep south and southeast again here on Wednesday the 2nd. More showery as you get closer to that low, as we mentioned. And for Thursday, we do actually end up getting a hefty snow system. This does end up offshore. And for areas in the more classic mountainous areas of the Northeast, like northeastern Pennsylvania, the Catskills and Adirondacks in New York, northern New Jersey, into like the Berkshires, the Green Mountains, the White Mountains, and then you start to get a little bit more coastal as we move up to Maine, as oftentimes that's how it goes. But a heavy snowstorm there, actually, for Thursday the 3rd. Friday the 4th here, that moves out, and we really revert back to a cold in the west, warm in the east pattern again. This might be some of the warmest temperatures of the year so far, because we see this ridge stretching way, way up into Canada. So you can imagine that a lot of the temperatures lower down, like the Great Lakes, Midwest, Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, Northeast, we're dealing with very, very warm temperatures. Now, potentially, we're seeing thunderstorms in this area of the kind of Midwest into the Great Lakes. Definitely worth noting. I want to take us straight towards Saturday on the 5th. And again, that very strong low is well up into Hudson Bay here. Some isolated and scattered thunderstorm activity perhaps in this pocket. Snowfall still for the Northwest as they're just getting hammered. And by Sunday, we're still in this trough in the west, ridge in the east pattern with maybe some thunderstorms across the Ohio Valley into the Mid-Atlantic. Looking at the GFS model, again, we are going to see some very, very interesting weather on this model. We see more snowfall in the Midwest, Great Lakes, and Northeast here. Very interesting. We almost get a mid-Atlantic snowstorm just as soon as March 26th here. We see some West Virginia and Virginia snowfall happening. Watch as we move forward. A little bit of southeastern PA starts to mix over with snowfall, and that one moves out. So it has potential, according to this model. Doesn't really pan out fully, but very close to a wintry event happening there. We get a northeast snowstorm here around the 30th, Sunday. And then here comes that mid-Atlantic one. Here's Monday the 31st. This low is way down in North Carolina, way more cold air to work with. And we see Kentucky, West Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, all seeing snowfall already the afternoon of Monday the 31st. As we move later into the evening, this is 8 p.m. on that Monday, Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, D.C., Delaware, southern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, southern New England are all getting snowfall here. Please take this with a grain of salt, because this would be absolutely crazy. Ironically, on April 1st as well, a lot of this storm is happening, so nobody would believe that it's going to happen. And we're 10 days out from this frame, exactly, actually 240 hours. So take it with a grain of salt. There's so many reasons why you should take this with a grain of salt, and really, be aware that models are calling for this, but the chances of this happening are well below 50%, at least this extent and this far south. So keep that in mind. but this is a 988 off of the Outer Banks. This is an intense coastal storm. There's just enough cold air to bring snowfall with this one. And we even see northeast North Carolina and southeastern Virginia get snowfall here, my neck of the woods. I would be so shocked if we saw this happen, and it would just be insane based on how much snowfall we've already seen this season. Crazy, crazy stuff. This is 2 a.m. on April 1st, and we see the entire mid-Atlantic and southern New England coast seeing heavy, heavy snowfall there. As we move towards Tuesday afternoon, it's more of a New England special at this point. 970, pretty well offshore of the Northeast there. 969 here. That is an intense low. We even see another snowstorm try to come together right after for the 2nd and 3rd of April here. As we keep going, we see the cold air sticks around in the east until about that 4th, 5th time frame where we really warm up in the east here. And we do eventually end up with a pattern that looks a lot more similar to the European. Cold and snowy in the northwest, very, very warm throughout the central and eastern states, with thunderstorms actually pretty far to the north in here, closer to Canada, whereas they've been happening in the deeper south. So this takes a considerable step to the north here on both these models. Total precipitation on the European model, highly above average in the northwest, pretty well above average in the east. Actually, we've seen an increase here day after day after day. So let's look at the anomalies. And again, I mean, a lot of areas, well, pretty much the whole Northwest is above average. A lot of the upper Midwest and Great Lakes is above average. And then in the deeper South, we're seeing a pretty well above average pattern as well. Total snowfall in the European model continues to increase. We see monstrous amounts for the mountainous West, obviously, but the Northern Plains, upper Midwest, and Great Lakes continue to look like it's going to be hit or miss. You know, not everybody's going to cash in on this, but whoever does could see 6, 10, 12, 15 inches, maybe more from some of these storms. So pretty large, hefty systems moving through these parts, and that's pretty typical for the late fall and early spring months. I feel like they cash in oftentimes. So we're seeing this snowfall in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic start to expand here. This is even impressive, but when we look at the GFS model, it's considerably far to the south, which is classic for the GFS model. I think the European model is going to be much, much better at predicting this pattern that we're in, but we see snowfall for, again, the deep south and the mid-Atlantic at least, so the deeper south mid-Atlantic, and then up into coastal New England. Take it with a grain of salt. I don't buy this as of now. But again, that Midwest into Great Lakes area doing great, and the Rockies and Cascades continue to not look as good on the GFS model as the European model. We'll see what happens though. The Storm Prediction Center, we have 3 outlooks just the next 3 days, nothing on the extended range, but for day 1 today on Saturday into the morning of tomorrow on Sunday, we do have 2 general thunderstorm risk areas, one there near the Rockies and then one in the Midwest. This is where we expect general thunderstorms, but anything is possible, so heed every watch, warning, and advisory. Your level 1 marginal risk is going to be found in that darker green area, and that's where we expect isolated severe weather to occur. We do have a little tiny small slight risk area there for northeastern Oklahoma, northwestern Arkansas, southeastern Kansas, and southwestern Missouri. There's a little pocket in here. That's where we expect a little bit more scattered severe weather to occur. Day 2, which will be tomorrow on Sunday the 23rd. Again, we have the general thunderstorm risk, a much larger marginal risk, and a much larger slight risk for areas of East Texas, northern Louisiana, southern Arkansas, the northern 2/3 of Mississippi, a little bit of northwestern Alabama, and then southwestern Tennessee, there where we could have some nasty severe weather. And then day 3 here, we see that all kind of flattens out to the south with general thunderstorms here in the deeper southeast, marginal risk from eastern Louisiana straight through coastal Mississippi, coastal Alabama, and the Florida Panhandle, as well as southwestern Georgia. Again, isolated severe weather expected in there. Be sure to subscribe. We upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.